Welcome to selfdiscoveryradio.com, where the orchard of wisdom is just ready for picking. We celebrate your why, the journey that you've taken that inspires someone else. We support your services, we support your story. Come and be our guest, become a host, be an author with us. Come and see what we've got. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Ignite Your Heart and Soul. I am your host, Sara Troy, and today I have Daniel the Healer here. We're going to ignite your heart and spirit here today by helping you live consciously. Yes, we do actually, without really realizing it, go through a mindless living. I call it the droid living, or the walking dead in many ways, where we're just not connecting to our consciousness, to all the beautiful energy that's around us, and everything that we seek as an answer is already there. If we learn to tap in, if we learn to tune in, we can consciously open up those gates and find our way. Daniel the Healer is an intuitive, holistic energy healer, body whisperer, a psychic energy chiropractor, psychic surgeon, and a spiritual counselor. Well, we've got so much to talk to him about just on those titles alone. So let's jump right into it. And first and foremost, hello, Daniel. Welcome to the show.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Hi, Sarah. It's nice to be here.
It's so many things here I want to hit you on. And psychic surgeon, how do you do that?
Okay, so there's different definitions of psychic surgeon. In the Philippines, where this whole thing started, they have them all lined up in a room, and there's the one who gets treated is on a table in the center of the room, and all the others kind of are sitting around, and then the practitioner then uses sleight of hands, where he pretends to go into a person's body and then generally have tucked away some chicken blood and chicken parts, and then this blood flies in the air, and everybody goes ooh and ah, and it's all very much a placebo effect. Mm-hmm. They're used to that, and so they go to the side and they all watch it, and then the person gets off the table and oh, I feel so good, and then all the others, oh, he feels so good, me too, and then they go in there, and that's what is in the Philippines is called psychic surgery. When I talk about psychic surgery, I think about doing intervention in your psyche. Mm-hmm. And so that the whole process happens in my imagination.
Right.
And so when I perceive like an aura not being well shaped, or being a lot of debris in your aura, or you having a weapon stuck in your back, and somebody says, and we talk in language, and they were betrayed, and they say, he stuck a knife in my back. And when I look at it psychically, the knife still is in there.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so, when you go to the emergency room with a knife in your back, what are they going to do? They're going to put you on they're going to operating table. They're going to give you a blood transfusion. They're going to clean it up, pull the knife out, then suture it back up. And I do the same thing, but I do it all in my imagination. So I do give people a psychic blood transfusion. I do give them anesthetic. I do remove the weapon. I do suture the wound. I do bandage them. And it all happens in my imagination. That's why I call it psychic surgery.
It's kind of like a parallel world, isn't it? I do that sometimes when I'm in pain. I will kind of, I'm imagining I'm the knife cutting out the pain. And it's just directional energy, isn't it? And it's almost like you're channeling that energy, but also kind of paralleling this world.
Yes.
That's how I'm seeing it anyway.
Yes, and so when you look at it, we're living in like 3D.
Yes.
We're living in depth, width, and height.
Right.
And then there's a fourth dimension, which is time, space.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you go through time, space, and you get into the multidimensional, the fifth dimension is will and imagination.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So being able to imagine something actually goes into the more real, plugs in, comes back down, and is being transmitted.
It's reprogramming, isn't it? Because,
Yes.
we're a whole load of circuits. We look at our robotics and, oh, aren't they so human-like? Well, aren't we so robotic-like? Everything about us is run on energy, circuitries that go throughout our body. Everything has a mechanicism to us. We're mechanical organic creatures. And so if we go in and repair, either the damaged part, or we go in and recircuit ourselves. This is why we see so many people being healed, and that's so much the fifth dimensional healing, because you have to be in that fifth dimension to really heal that way. Where we're seeing organs regrown, we're seeing DNA replanned, all of this because it's just recircuiting us, DNAing us, and taking out some old plugs and putting in some new ones.
Well, you just said, the body being this mechanics and all. Yes, but that mechanics has consciousness.
Yes, each
And
organ,
so
every part of us, right?
When you go into the fifth dimension and you do this imaginary stuff, you're creating consciousness energy, and then you're sending this consciousness energy to the client, and the consciousness of that machinery, that body, that physical thing will read that and will make adjustments.
Yes, yes. And of course, people can't perceive this can be, because no, you have to have a knife, you have to have this to do that. But then again, that's the third dimensional thinking of only seeing us as a body and not realizing that, with our psyche, with our cosmic selves, this is just purely a vessel. It's not the engine, so to speak, that drives us, or the fuel,
Yes, that is just purely the vessel, the temple, the partner.
Yes.
You and your body are partners.
Yeah. I know for me, I'm most certainly a cosmic child. I really have had a hard time living in the human body, and also in the human realm, because the third dimensional realm is so angry and so filled with hate and fear. And we know that on higher dimensions that it doesn't resonate. You can't live in that state of love or in that state of higher energy in a state of anger or hate. Are you seeing through the people that you're serving right now a willingness to remove the hate, a willingness to cut that out surgically?
Well, when you talked about earlier that I'm a holistic healer, that means that I work with people on all four levels of their existence, on the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual. So the hatred would be more something that you work with in the on the emotional realm. But as we grow, as we become more, and we tend to, what I call people to be old souls.
Yeah.
They've been around the block many times. I would
times.
say, the majority of our population, they're really here to figure out survival. And once they figured out survival, then you kind of go into the next realm, and you go into your spiritual potential, and you change. And at one point, when you've had so many survival lifetimes, you say, oh, there must be more to life than this. And then that is the beginning of a new, and those are in the minority. So I'd say old souls are maybe 2-3% of our population.
I would actually perhaps disagree with you there. I think that we have a lot more. I think there's, on that fourth dimensional plane, we have a lot more waking up, coming into their consciousness, stepping up, out of that 3D thinking. And I think we're seeing quite an escalation of a conscious awakening, and we're seeing a lot more people enter into that fifth dimension now.
Yes, and that is correct as far as that we're in an extraordinary different time
Mm-hmm.
than ever before. So we are actually, as a whole culture, as a whole consensus, moving up a level.
Yes.
This is what's going on right now. So I understand that. But you know, over 60% of my clients are old souls.
Mm-hmm.
So somehow they get attracted to me.
Right. Yes. And
And
your vibrational energy begets the same energy. Yes.
yes, but most of them are at a point where there's just one or two little items that holds them back.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then they're not, some don't even know what they are.
Right. Right.
They're still blinded. They're still, you know, with blinders on. And so I tell them, because one of the things I do on the energetic part is I do an assessment of people's energies.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at about 65 different criteria in their energy field. And I'll, I had a person and they came and they were all open, incredible, light, brilliant, extraordinary large aura, no blockages, everything was flowing, but their solar plexus was dead. There was nothing happening in their solar plexus. So I realized that they didn't understand yet the concept of their personal power, and they were not in their power. In
Right.
other words, they had not acknowledged to themselves where they were and created the authority that comes with this to be able to function as a self-determined individual in their reality.
It's a lot to do with the permission too, isn't it? It's because
Yes.
when you step into that light, you are the I am becoming the we are. And you understand what that light means. And sometimes it's very hard to articulate because, you know it, you feel it, you follow it. But I think for a lot of people, especially if they are older, it is giving yourself permission to be this light. Because we're always looking for someone to say it's okay.
Yes, and they have to understand that they have to give themselves
Yeah,
permission, and they're waiting for something on the outside to say, "Oh, go ahead."
yeah.
And so I have to tell them, "No, it's up to you."
Yes, it's everything
And
is up to us, isn't
oh
it? I mean,
yes, we're the boss.
yeah, we are. And I think people don't realize how empowering we are to ourselves when we give ourselves permission to place importance upon ourselves, which is not self-importance, ego-driven, but the importance of self and why
Yes.
we're here. What is our contribution, which is what is our gift? I call it the musical instrument that we learn to perfect, that we bring to the orchestra that creates the symphony of life. But we've all got it. And when we are willing to take the journey and step into each one of those energy levels, we start in that self-discovery of how awesome we really are, of how much we really can do when we get out of our intellectual way and trust our divine knowingness, how capable we are of doing so much. But the restraints and the limitations, I think, come from the conditioning of the mind.
Yeah, this is for eons.
Mm-hmm.
We've
Mm-hmm.
been suppressed in a
Yes.
sense for the purpose of others having power over us.
Yes.
And
Servitude.
so, yeah, and you know, all institutions,
Mm-hmm.
governments, kings and rulers, school, religion, all those that, and they said, well, um, you cannot. And so that's what we are conditioned. It's in
Yes.
the unconscious mind. It's in the collective. But it's really interesting that as who we are attached to this body in the physical, we are the smallest, the most insignificant part of the totality of who we are,
Mm-hmm.
yet the power is with us.
Yeah.
So, when you're in your will, in compliance with your will, and God and Goddess hop too.
Yes, yes. Free will. That is
Yes.
again, we're looking for this permission. No, it's okay. It's okay. And, we have to understand it is our free will. We cannot be forced to do anything that we do not wish to do. And sometimes we are forced physically to do something. But when we step into that free will and rise above that, we always find a way to follow that way. But it's, again, I think, I always call it society's expectations. Society's doctrine, dictatorship of how you should live, who you should be. And we have to take all those layers off and realize that was just somebody else's dictatorship, and then step into our own free will, our own self-empowerment, our own beautiful gift, switch our switches on, right? And the generator back on, and shine out light, because ultimately what we're here for is to be that beacon of light for others to follow, to be that beautiful divine energy and raise our vibration, raise our frequency. And it's not being selfish to be to step into self and nurture yourself and do all you can to step into that light, because that light is your contribution.
Yes, that's correct. So this is really funny, because you're just, you're just reusing my words in your own way. But
right, yeah, that again comes down to the word perspective.
Yes,
we have 4 key personalities, and we could all be saying the same thing, but we see it from a different point of view. And I think this is, as a human society, if we learn to listen to other people's points of view, we would realize that we have more in common than we do not. And that is only because we see things from that different point of view. And to get the full picture, we really do need to listen to each other.
We need to touch into other people's divinity, because what you're describing here is acknowledging your own divinity, knowing that you're here to learn, that you're quote unquote gods and goddesses in training. But once the training is over, what are you?
Right. Right. And what's the purpose of you? I've always said that Earth is school, and 3Ds kind of hasn't risen beyond kindergarten, many levels. But we are here to learn. We're here to ascend into our different dimensional planes. And as we learn and as we step into those energies and go higher, higher up, we get to a point we don't need to come back here anymore. We've learned all we can from here. Where we go from there, have you met any of the scholars that are higher dimension than 5th that can tell you where we go from there?
No,
or have you yourself experienced it?
My wife has. She was in. She met Kirpal Singh, which is a Sikh guru, and not S-I-C-K, but S-I-K-H, Sikh, with a turban,
right?
And all. But once you rise to the top of the 4th level, of the 4th, there is the physical, the astral, the causal, and the mental. But once you come to the top of the mental, you'll sit on your throne of your reality. You'll be this full, grand light, as brilliant as 9 suns, and you can bask in this. But eventually, you will come and say, "There must be more than this," and that's when you go into 5th dimensional, being there full time without having to ever come back here in the 3D dimensional. Now, the advantage of this 3D is that we have time. See, outside of this 3D, we're in the timeless. And so you can have an issue you want to work with, but you're like basking in this glow, in this eternal orgasm of timelessness. And you say, well, okay, so what? I can deal with this issue. I have another 1,000 years. So every once in a while, and not everybody goes through physical lifetimes, but every once in a while you say, okay, I'll become physical. Because when you come through the veil of time-space, now you have deadlines. Now you have motivation to actually do something that you want to do on that you chose as a challenge before you came here, and that you want to learn and expand and grow and become, have greater consciousness and become more.
Yes, and you know, whenever one is reading for someone, well, when is it going to happen? Well, in that sphere, there is no time. You know, it's very hard to actually say when is something going to happen. So, you know, it's always, you have to wait for the synchronicity of events or people to happen before whatever you see to happen, because time is just non-existent there. Time is a human thing. Um, and I think it perhaps is put there for us to get on with things and not waste time. You know, we're here for a limited amount of time, and there's a lot that we have to learn in our lifetime. And I think this is why there are many lifetimes we do come back, because we've, you know, we were on chapter 1 and we've got several other chapters, so you're going to come back and do it all over again and keep rising up in the chapters. I know I've had many, 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 many lifetimes, but I also know I was put here to always be that spiritual counselor, to always be that soul awakener through every lifetime. And I also know the last 50 lifetimes I went through as much persecution a human being can go through for being this spiritual being.
Yeah, we all want to experience everything there is.
Yeah, exactly. And I've done the gamut. I've done the gamut. I'd like to step into, you know, that cosmic love now. But, you know, you're talking about when you're in that light of energy. And I think there's something that's really interesting, you know, like when I'm in my, what I call my space field, it's you're in nothingness and everythingness all at once. You know, it is such a place of weightlessness, of everything less, but also of abundance. Everything you need is there, but there is nothing you need. It's so really hard to explain, but it is such a place of absolute supreme peace. And just of knowingness, because all you need to know is what you need to know when you need to know it. And there is no fret of what do I need to know. And it's such a beautiful divine place. But it's really hard for people to actually understand it. They're still very much in their stress phase, which I think we're looking at human beings at the present moment, because there's this transition going on where everybody's in that stress like this, and it's how do we unclench the hands and take that breath and allow themselves to go through the process, to go through the other side, because there is no going around it or over it. You do have to go through it, don't you?
Yes, absolutely, you have to go through. Well, these are totally exciting times. This is when the reason our world is in such chaos is that we were in a very masculine energy dominated era for the last 6,000 years, and it's coming to an end. And so, and it doesn't mean that and I'm just going to call it easily the patriarchy. It doesn't mean that now the matriarchy is coming in to usurp the power from the patriarchy, but that's the way the male-dominated society sees it, that this is a threat to its existence.
Yes, of course.
And that's from their old perspective, because that's what it used to be. But what is really happening is that the feminine energies are coming in to work together with the masculine energies.
Together is the key word there.
Together.
It's not about dominancy, right? It's about unity. It's about collaboration.
Yes. And so that is a very foreign concept to the male mindset, because in the male mindset, there is the pyramid and there's the hierarchy, and only one can be on top.
Right.
And that's what's falling apart. And so with this, what it has shown up so far is like, in popular culture is the Me Too movement, is all this thing where the women are not going to take it anymore. And of course, men see this as a threat. So, but what's happening right now, because the situation is changing, is that the masculine is fighting, it knows it's dying, but it's fighting for its dominance. And so it's, I mean, I don't know where you broadcast, but in the US, we have this odd president who is
We're
absolutely,
familiar with him.
yes, an absolute magnificent example
Mhm.
of
Yes,
that, what is falling apart.
right. The true narcissism.
Yes, it's coming to the surface to be
Mhm.
reviewed.
Yes, that was his purpose. We
Yes,
had to see, we can't fix the plumbing until we go down and see what's in the pipes. And, we've opened up the sewerage and we've seen what's down there. And it's going to take them more than one plumber to clean it out. And, I think it's my favorite song last year was Rise Up by Andrea Day. And it's not rise up in the pitchforks or in the hate against each other. It's a rise up, arm in arm with each other, black, white, pink, yellow, polka dot, who cares what your religion is, as a human race, in elevating our energy, in elevating our caringness, kindness, and love, so that we can raise that vibration and become the human beings that we were meant to be. And unless you see what's in the sewer, and there's been monsters lying there and somebody let them out, and, it's like a horror movie. And this is what we're seeing right now, and we're horrified by what we see. But we've got to understand that's taken the 6,000 years, to create that. And it's going to take us all standing together to combat that. And we're not going to do it with hate. We're going to do it with love and kindness by empowering ourselves. So I
yes,
say that the third dimensioners that are still on that plane, unfortunately, will get left behind, because those fourth rising into fifth are going to be the people that are going to change the entire energy structure to which these other people cannot live in anymore.
yeah, those that are willing to go through the change that we see externally,
Yes.
internally, which means for society as a whole to get more involved with your feminine aspect,
Yes.
which is your spirituality and your emotional body.
I think what we're seeing is a lot more of that now. We're seeing millennials, the guys taking maternity leave, and they're carrying the babies around. They're doing all of those things.
Isn't that beautiful?
It is beautiful to
I
see.
know. To
And
see that things are truly changing. When you look at the babies that are coming
yes,
and that are here, the 2-3-year-olds, and they're all in their, they're in their selves. They know who they are, and they're in.
yes.
At the 3-year-old, they walk down the street self-assured and luminous eyes. This is are we looking forward to an incredible, absolutely stunning heaven on earth type future?
With our kids, as long as we do not take it from them, which is, we were all born that way. But
Yeah,
somewhere along
I
the
know when
line,
it was taken away from us.
because we went to school of conformity, it fit into a nice little box. You must do, you should do, you will do. And there was no asking us what we want to do, right? It was just everything about you will. And what we're looking at is the free one. If we tap into those beautiful children and we nurture all that they want to be and let them in that self-discovery become, we are going to see everything that this world is meant to be. But it's us as adults need to get out of the way and let the children show us the way, and just be the custodians, their guardians, their nurturers, because they're here to teach us. We see it with the animal world now. Look how they're showing us how to love each other. You see species that are meant to hate each other, who are there to
Yeah.
support and love each other. And it's all about that vibration. They don't see the difference. They feel the same love vibration. And if we could start feeling each other's vibration, our own beautiful cosmic love that's within us, and see each other on that plane, then we would actually get out of our own way, because we keep seeing the exterior. So what if my car is better than your car? Who cares? It's what's inside the car that's
Exactly.
important.
Yes. So one of the things that seems to happen in my practice is I find a lot of people who are just at the verge, who have a little something here, a little something there, and looking at them holistically, I figure it out. I talk them through it, and or do processes with them, or do psychic surgery, or whatever is needed, but always telling them what I do, because they need to be conscious about it. It's not like, oh, do it to me, do it to me. No,
Yes. Yes.
You're the one who makes the choice. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do for you, but then once I've done this, you need to run with it. You need to take it. You need to make it real. You need to own that this happened to you, and you need to change your way you live based on what has happened to you, and you need to become a new person. One of the things that I tell a lot of people, and just to, for anybody listening to this, they can just try it out, is to imagine yourself as a 40, 50-foot light giant. You're this giant, 40, 50 feet. You walk in your reality. You look down upon this reality because you have this very high vantage point. And then when something comes your way, not to shrink back down into who you are, but to take a moment and take a breath or two and say, now, as this 50-foot light giant, how would I respond to this, whatever comes your way? And then you're making different choices, because then you own that you are this divine, grand, magnificent being. And so
You
that's
find
one of the...
that when you're in that kind of light and energy, that the people that you used to fear, or the people that used to have create a reaction from you, no longer do. You know that we know that the energy begets energy. So if you're living in the fear energy, you're going to attract the fear. If you're living in that love, beautiful, giant light energy, you're going to attract other like energies. So other energies trying to come at you with anything aren't going to have any impact. There's rather like, the fly to the light, zap it.
Yeah, what I actually found is that sort of an energy won't even find you.
Right.
Because
Yes.
you're out of their, you're outside of
out
their
of their
radar.
frequency. Yeah, exactly. You're not tuned into their channel.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
And we're all capable of doing that. It's just, I think, getting out of our own intellect. I always say that sometimes the head is the worst thing you can do, is give your head permission to accept what it doesn't understand. And then you're going to do, with your whispering, with your surgery, going in there and kind of removing things and rechanneling them and resetting them. And if they could trust that process, instead of trying to intellectualize it, try and understand it, try and validate it, which this is where I feel the blockage is. If you just accept what you don't know and trust that this person does, and just ride in that energy, you'll rise up in that energy so much faster.
Yes, absolutely. That's the key.
Mm-hmm. A big key.
It's the ownership.
Yes.
You have to own that, who you are, and you have to live it. Now, you see, when you receive something new information, you go through a process.
Yeah.
You first learn it, then you understand it, then you know it, and finally you live it. Mm-hmm. And once you live it, then you can let it go because you're in it.
Yeah. Yes.
And so you continuously learn, understand, know, and live more stuff.
Yes.
But once you live it, I don't remember certain things that I did in the past because it's so intrinsically part of me that I don't think about it anymore.
Right. Yeah, I was having a conversation with somebody, and it was something that she said to me suddenly triggered a memory of something that had happened to me that I'd let go of a long time ago. And I was like, you can look back on those things and you're not attached to them anymore. You can just see them for what they were, or maybe how you invited them, because everything that happens to us is an invitation, because we sent out that vibration, and that vibration is going to be met. And people don't realize that when if you have been victimized, that was an invite because you were resonating on that vibration. And it's not a conscious invite, it's a subconscious one. And I think that if we step into that consciousness of awareness, do you remember in Star Wars, these are not the droids that you're looking for? I think a lot of that is that. This is not the trouble you're looking for. This is not the vibration that you're looking for. This is not the energy that you're looking for. You've stepped into this energy, and this is the only energy that you will accept.
Yeah, but there are challenges that come up from
Oh,
time to
yeah. Oh,
time
yeah.
to
Yeah.
as an opportunity to remind yourself who you are. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you go for the challenge, like you overcame something, and this is who you were. And so now you're this new person and you live on a new level. Well, my wife channels an entity, and that entity talks about, this is the test.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to let yourself come back down and say, oh my God, obviously I have not dealt with this? Or are you going to say, no, I forgave myself for this. I dealt with this. I know that this is different. And that may happen 2 or 3 times. And if you quote unquote pass the test successfully a few times, then it will never show up in your life anymore.
Right.
But
Exactly.
additionally, we also grow in spirals.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so when you look at a spiral, and here you go, and this is a point inside of this, a line of a particular event, and so you grow and you grow and you grow, but you come in now a level higher on a higher octave of this particular point, then that point will show itself again.
Mm-hmm.
It will say, hello, remember that?
Yes.
And
And
so,
the thing is to look at it and go, look how far I have come. I am
yes,
no longer there anymore. Look how I stepped into my strength, into my courage, into my own heart and soul, how I trusted it, how I took the journey. And I look back and I am no longer that person anymore. I am no longer trapped in that world anymore. And we have to realize that we are our own prisoners, that we can get out of this jail anytime with a willingness to step forward. And I know what it's like to be
and the guide.
oh,
I
and the
know
guide.
sometimes
Yes, yes.
and the guide.
Yes, you have to ask for the cosmic help, not
Yes.
the physical beings that come into your life. I had a woman with a pendulum. She removed many lifetimes from me, and she took away a blockage that I knew had been there for a very long time. And through that, I had to then discover, who am I without this blockage? Because this blockage had stopped me from moving forward. Now I have this playing field in front of me. I had to choose the paths. And it still took a little while of taking that journey of which paths to go on, which you learn instinctually as you go. But you're going to meet people along the way, like yourself. They're going to help you clear some of the energies, give you some tools, something to put in your backpack on your own journey of life. But ultimately, this journey is our responsibility. It's ours to walk. It's ours to learn from. It's ours to ascend to. And all the people that you're going to meet along the way are going to be people that are going to want to see you ascend into your own light, and they're going to help you. And you've got to be open and willing and allow receiving.
Yes. That's one of the very first tests that I do when and I kind of have it looks very funny from the outside, but I kind of put my hands like this, but in my imagination, my hands are on their breastbone and on their back over their heart.
Mm-hmm.
And if the energy gets really hot between my hand, I know that they're willing to receive.
Mm-hmm.
And if nothing happens, then I need to talk to them. Look, to me, it looks like you're not willing to receive.
Right.
So at least for today, and that's fine. That may be a mechanism of defense, because sometimes you received conditional love and it was less of a hassle not to receive love than to receive conditional love. And that's a method that you used in the past and it worked for you, and then you survived, and bravo, fantastic. But for this session, at least in your mind, you need to say to yourself, I allow myself to receive during this session so that I can come away with something. And so that's very, very good that you brought this up, because willingness to receive, being open, you have to have that.
And of course, it's stepping out of head. When we do take our car to the mechanic, do we know everything they're going to fix? Or if we went to the dentist, do we know how they're going to work? We trust that they're specialized in their field. And we don't need to know everything. It's just stepping into that trust. If you feel it, um, you you're on demand there. If you feel it, you know it. It's that gut instinct. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know how he's going to do it, but I know I have to do it, and I need to step into trust. And as
Yes.
as third dimensional beings, trust is one of those very hard things to do, because, as you said, that we've been through something before, we've been hurt before. How many times do you hear of people saying, "Yes, I gave my heart to someone before, and they betrayed it. I'm never going to love again." Well, who
Hmm.
are you denying? Not him. You're not punishing them. You're punishing yourself. You
Yeah.
are meant to be a person of love. And that may be of love one-on-one with somebody, or simply love of life, love of world, the joy of living. If you don't step into love, what are you here for?
Yeah, that's the ultimate.
Yes.
The ultimate is the love. I mean, you saying this, I got hurt, so I'm never going to love again. Like you said, it hurts themselves. It's the same thing with forgiveness. Oh, they hurt me. I will keep a grudge all my life.
Yes.
It doesn't, nothing to the person. So what? They don't even feel the grudge.
No. No, they don't. And
But
the
you're the
person,
one who carries it with you
yes,
because you kept the grudge. It's
right.
only hurting yourself.
And then what happens to you is that you're carrying this weight around all the time. It gets heavier and heavier over time. All of a sudden, it manifests into some form of disease because you're manifesting this negative energy all the time. And we have more sick people on the planet today than we've ever had, because people are carrying resentment and grudges and hate and fear around in them that breaks the cellular body down. And so,
Yeah, and we're going full circle here
yes,
because I told you just a short while ago, we need to learn how to deal with our emotional bodies, which is
yes,
part of the feminine dynamic. And
yes,
so we need to learn what to do with fear, what to do with anger, what to do
yes.
with terror, what to do with sadness, what to do with hurt, what to do with worry, and all that. We need to know these things, and unfortunately, they're not being taught when you go to high school or when
No.
you go to school. Nobody is like, oh, by the way, emotions 101 is 2 p.m. in the auditorium.
Right. I mean,
Nothing.
I was talking with a psych major the other day, and I was talking about feelings, and he said, "Oh, yeah, but I get this feeling." I said, "No, you're talking about emotions there. I'm talking about your heart feeling. When you step into heart feeling, that heart feeling just becomes so passionate over something. You've got to do it. You've got to follow it. You've got to, the heart drives you. But if you're just stepping into we all have emotions. That's the human condition. There was a great animated movie put out a few years ago called From the Inside Out. And it was talking about going through the emotions and not being stuck in any one of them. The whole point of an emotion is that it's a reflection of what's going on in your life. And if you pay attention to that emotion, why am I feeling sad today? Why am I feeling angry today? Or I'm in joy. I need to do more of this. It makes me feel happy. We need to pay attention to what the emotions are telling us, not get stuck and dramatize it, because this is where we create our own soap opera.
Yes. Yeah. And our emotional body is in timelessness.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, is not subject to logic. And so, people feel something and they come in with their mind and say, oh, I shouldn't be feeling this, or that is not appropriate, or whatever. It doesn't work that way.
Mm-mm.
You need to understand that you are feeling whatever you feel, whenever you feel it, and it is appropriate.
Yes. It's a reflection of what's going on in your life at the
Yes.
time. Pay
Yes.
attention to it.
Uh-huh. But from a masculine point of view, emotions were, quote unquote, something that the women folk did.
Yes, yes.
And of course, it's sissy to be emotional, and hell, you cannot appear sissy to the other guys,
Mm-hmm.
because then you're weak and
Right.
you're
Oh, for
not.
God's sake, don't cry.
Yes,
Don't
this
get
is.
into machoism, right?
Uh-huh. this distorted macho, it's just it's just totally went into the wrong direction.
Right.
And that's what we're here at this point in consciousness. This is what we're here to make straight, to straighten out, to figure out, and to become whole.
And it's those that males that embrace the feminine side, because we're yin and yang, we're a balance. But, this vessel we're in is defining which quote quote sex we are, but we're both male and physical.
And female, yeah.
Right. So I'm quite masculine in a lot of the things that I do, and that's okay, because that masculinity is going to come out and address whatever that situation is in that form. I'm equally just as feminine in other areas that I need to be feminine in, and we all have this capability to be whatever, and we need to step into them and get out of this stigma thing. A woman loves a man that's in touch with their emotions, that feels, that expresses. We want to know that they care. Show us. We don't want you to hide behind this. I'm sorry, it's not sexy.
Yes.
The sexiness is somebody who sheds a tear over something sad or even something wonderful, right? Because we know then that you're connected. You're connected to your heart. And that's what we want to see, is your heart.
Yeah, and on the counterpart, in the sense that you said a woman likes a man that shows his emotional side, on the counterpart, a man really likes a strong woman.
Yes, who doesn't show any emotion.
No, she does show emotion, but she also has will.
Yeah.
And she's dynamic as well, not just passive.
Mm-hmm.
Many women, the love of my life, whatever you want, dear, whatever you want, dear. No, that's not what I wanted. I met you who you were. Yeah. I want you have your desires, I have my desires, and we'll work them out. We'll figure it out, and we'll do it together.
I mean, that's why I went wrong in my relationships. That they fell in love with the spiritual. I don't like to use the word warrior, but the spiritual being that I was, the free will, the person that lived very much in her knowingness and instinctually, and they fell in love with that. And then they wanted me to then be boxed and contained, only there for them, clip the wings, and then it became me, the servitude, the servant, anything you want, dear. And it's like I lost myself completely out of that, and they lost me, so consequently the love was lost.
Yes.
And so if you want to have love in your life, step up in all your beautiful loving glory, both of you. And it's not about becoming one, it's about the yin and yang of each other, the collaboration of coming together and just creating better music. That's the whole together. Yes,
correct.
Yeah.
So then it's on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
The women need to know and understand that they need to have more of the masculine dynamic, and the men need to understand that they have to have more of the feminine. And you can't really say dynamic in this case. It's more a matter of
sensitivity, perhaps.
Yes, because the essence of masculine and feminine is that masculine is the doingness and feminine is the beingness.
Yes.
And you have to have them both.
Yes, you do. You have to be in the beingness to do the doingness, because from beingness you do what is needed to be done. If you're just doing without the beingness, you're just doing things for the sake of doing them.
Yeah, and then it gets lost.
Yes, exactly. And it doesn't serve a purpose. It's just, I think a big word that is everything is connection. And we don't connect to the heart and soul. We don't connect to the spirit. We don't connect to the energy. And it's almost like people are walking around with a plug in their hand going, where do I plug it in? Where do I plug it in? How do I get charged? How do I find this energy you're talking about? And they don't realize the switch is on inside them. They don't need, there's no exterior plug, right? You're your own generator. And you've just got to find it within you.
Yes, totally. Now, also you talked about being heart-centered. And it's really interesting because the heart has the fourth chakra. There's 3 below and 3 above. It's in the middle. It's in the center. So from top comes your divinity. From the bottom comes your humanity. And so your divinity and humanity come together in your heart. Now, you know, so people say, oh, you need to do what, you know, come from your heart. Well, that's being one-sided on the other side as well. You do need to function as a whole, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. So emotional is from the heart, spiritual is your divinity, the body, the physical is, and the mental is what holds it. So there needs to be a balance between the four.
Yes. Yes.
You know, when I look at an opportunity sometimes, and I don't really know whether I want to do it or not, then I go and I say, hey, body, would you like to do this? Mind, what do you think? Feelings, are we going to feel great when we do this? The divine, higher self, do you think that this is going to serve me in some way? And sometimes the higher self says, no, it's not going to serve you any specifically, but you're going to have a lot of fun.
Right.
And fun, of course, is important too.
Very important.
It's one of the givens that when we come here, we generally, overall, we tend to have like 7 focuses that foci when we come into this reality. And 2 are given and the other 5 are self. And the given one is to consciously, not unconsciously, but to consciously learn how you create your reality. And the second one is to learn how to have fun.
Yes.
So this is important. So anyway, if I'm stuck in something and I don't really know, then I break it down. And if all my 4 bodies say, hey, you know, it's a go, then it's a go. The toughest is when 2 say yes and 2 say no. Okay, so how are we going to figure this out?
Right.
But,
and this is where, so many people just literally think from the head. They're intellectualizing everything. And I'm saying that and all that does is rather like a hamster on the wheel over and over and again, because yes, but if I do that, but then if I did that, that could happen. And then what if I did this? And you're stuck in the what ifs and nothing happens. And I say, listen to the soul, the heart, the spirit, let everything come into the equation, because now you're feeling what you need to know rather than just knowing what you want to feel.
Right. And so that basically it's to be an enlightened and a person who can function in this new reality, you need to live holistically.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Your divinity isn't just something you go and do on Sunday. It is you. It's a part of you. It's within your vessel. And this is a partnership that you have to honor. In order to live the meaningful purpose of your existence here on earth, because we're all here to learn, we're all here to step into that meaningful purpose, to understand what our existence is. And then from that higher ascension, then you actually understand what you're here to do and what's next. And not even worry about what's next. When you're living on that higher level, you don't worry about tomorrow, do you? Because you're so much in the moment.
You live in the now, but you do think of your future from time to time.
The seeding and the watering.
That's right. You seed into the future so that by the time you reach that future, the seed has grown and you can harvest.
Yes. Yes. And that's the importance is don't plant the seeds you don't want to grow. Don't water what you don't want to grow, right?
Yes.
Which is really important. If you're going to keep, I'm going to throw a little resentment and a little bitterness out there, guess what? That's what you're going to get. So we have to be mind and soulful of what we are wanting to give our energy to. And that really means stepping into that consciousness, the wholeness of ourselves, to really ask ourselves, what do we want to see for ourselves? And don't dictate of how it should be or where it be, but those are the seeds you're going to plant, and that's the energy you're going to water.
Yes. So one more thing that I want to say, as divine beings, as being gods and goddesses in training, and having gone through the training and being gods and goddesses ourselves, there's three things that the divine does.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can actually get into these three things that the divine does, then you're quote unquote living your divine life. And the first thing the divine does is touch, love, heal.
Mm-hmm.
It touches, it loves, and it heals, but also lets itself be touched, be loved, and be healed. It's a two-way street.
Yes.
So that's one of the items the divine does. The second item that the divine does is continuously expand, grow, become more, add to the consciousness, add to the sum total of everything. And by the way, with every experience we have individually, we're adding to the sum total of the total experience, which is the divine. The divine is everything. And the third thing that divine does is passionately create. You know, God created this universe, quote unquote. In the Bible it says. So you need to understand that aspect, the passionately create in your own personal life, is that you create your own reality. And so when you understand that, consciously learn how to create your own reality, then you're really living your divine life.
Yeah. I mean, the universe is all about creation, isn't it? As something dies out of that dead planet comes something else anew. It's all about that. We're all made from the universe. Every particle, energy, and vibration that's within us is that we are creative creatures. And look, quite honestly, what we've created in technology, you know, how far we've come when we allow the imagination to dance, to play, and see where it can go. Of course, then comes the moral consciousness of how far should it go? Just because we can, should we? Which then always comes into that question. But we deny ourselves by limiting ourselves, saying we should only grow this far. You know, it's infinity and beyond, as Buzz Lightyear said, you know. And that's the thing is, don't limit who you are. Don't limit what you're here to do. If you're around people where your light and your energy is too much, then find the people that will embrace that light of you, that will welcome that light of you. Those that are around you that you're too bright for, you're blinding them at that moment. They're not ready yet to receive that kind of light. And we have to understand that it's being the light is a responsibility. It's a responsibility not only to yourself, to the universe, to the planet, but to each other. And it's some people are just ready just for the torchlight, some people ready for the big light, and everybody has that process to go through, and they have to be willing to go through it. That's the whole point, isn't it? The journey of life is a willing to go through it. And with people like yourself, you're there to help them go through those stages of being able to embrace their own beautiful light.
Yes, that's the quote-unquote spiritual counselor part of my description that you said at the very beginning. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here for, indeed.
So you like to work with people on all of the levels, not just, you know, one level here and one level there. You like to work them as a whole being?
Yes, I look at them completely. And if they come with me with a physical ailment, and sometimes it's they just don't have the correct nutrition, then I'll figure this out with my medical intuition. But sometimes there's all kinds of energetic or emotional things that are on the way, and then that needs to be cleared out. It needs to be shown. They need to understand this, and then that is part of what was, and they can become new. So I really work with them on every level that is possibly. On the physical, I do medical intuition, and I do what is called align the body, where I actually can figure out if their skeletal structure is out of alignment. And with my gaze, I'm also a gazer. With my gaze, in my imagination, gazing, for instance, at the third cervical that is out of alignment, I will gaze at the third cervical and the bone that says, oh, that's what I need to do, and it goes into place.
Right.
So I align people physically. Emotionally, I help them to figure out past hurts, past difficulties, and I bring them so that they can find peace and forgiveness. So
Yes.
that, because anywhere where you emotionally have not cleared a situation in your past, that still bleeds through into your life, into the present. So we find closure and forgiveness. Mentally, I work with people, I talk to them about their minds, the conscious, the subconscious, the unconscious mind, what is what, how to deal with it, and their mind talk. Their
Mm-hmm.
mind talk is really where the tire meets the road. Because if they have a bad mind talk, they are continuously reinforcing that, the yammer, yammer, yammer.
Yeah.
So I talk to them about how to deal with the mind talk and how to change it. And then spiritually, I do the life essence reading, which I talked to you about earlier, where I look at their energy field, and I do psychic surgery. So these are the services that I actually offer to people, and that's why I do work with them holistically. And these levels also intertwine with each other.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And that's the, this is one of the problems I think we have a lot to do with medicine per se, is they go in and treat the symptom, or they just go in and treat one thing, and they don't realize that if one thing is out of order, it's going to push everything out of order. And
Yes.
it's about that rebalancing, realigning, removing blockages, and allowing that chi, that energy, to run through the body fluidly again, because everything about us as human beings needs the fluidity of life, doesn't it? We constantly need to be propelling forward. Energy doesn't like being stagnant. It needs to flow. And when we step into that flow of that energy by removing all of this and realigning and getting rid of the garbage, we're now far more able to receive what really is going to nurture us and propel us forward. And we can't see that if we're stuck. And so,
No, we can't.
first and foremost, you've got to get unstuck. And no, we can't always do that on our own. We need somebody who can see us from the outside in.
Well, yeah, that's part of the definition of blockages.
Yes.
So we come into this life and we set up certain blockages, and the idea of the blockage is that it's not visible to you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's just in the definition of it. So
Right.
you do sometimes need a guide, somebody to hold your hand and point things out and work things out and give you the consciousness of what it means to you so that you can change it.
Right. And again, this is another thing. We are responsible for ourselves, our choices in life, what we choose to feed, how we choose to serve ourselves, how we choose to serve humanity. That is our choice. But the other thing is that we were never designed to do it alone. It has always been about the village. And the village will always be there to support you and help you. There's always somebody, the wise one, that can help you get on your right path. So yes, it's a solo journey, but the people that you're going to carry with you and you're going to meet along the way is part of your village, and you must be open to receive, however bizarre it feels or it seems. If you have met that person at that time, that is the person that you are needing. There are no coincidences ever.
Yeah, definitely. There's no coincidences. I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
I've experienced this. I've seen that all experiences which I have had in my life are actually a sum total of my path, which created that which I am now.
Right. Yes,
And since I
exactly.
like who I am now,
Exactly. Exactly.
I would do it again the same way, with all the suffering and all the, I mean, I suffered very badly for 50 years of this
Mm.
life. And but I found my way, I figured it out. I know that I'm divine. I know I can wrap up. I know I can go home.
Right. And that is the key. Um, we are kind of, in a sense, born to suffer here, but the level of our suffering doesn't have to be so deep and profound. The reason for your work and the reason for Self-Discovery Radio is to bring people like you to the forefront, to show people you're going to have potholes along the way, but you don't have to fall into the deep crevices. You can avoid those. You don't have to go through the same suffering we did. And that everybody is going to have those challenges in life, and it's how we rise up to them, how we go through them, what we become because of them is part of life's journey. But if we step into allowing people like yourself to help us along the way, then we're going to get through and step into our meaningful purpose a lot sooner, which is what I think the reason for your work today, and others' work today. You've done the suffering for them. You've stepped into your own light. Now you're sharing that light for others so that their path may not be as dark. So thank you for
Yes.
stepping into your light.
I'll use your words in the future.
Please
Thank
do.
you.
And that is what it's about. This is your
Yes.
meaningful purpose. This is the whole reason for your journey. And it's to make sure that somebody else doesn't have to, go around in the dark, that they can use your light. And you get in there and you kind of like the mechanic, realigning, resurfacing them, realigning them so they can embrace their own energy and become their own light and shine for someone else. That's what it's all about, right? So,
yes, exactly.
and the quicker that people learn this, the quicker they're going to go through that suffering and step into that meaningful person with that beautiful light and actually understand the joy of being in this presence, in this divineness, because it is, I don't think yet there's really been any words to truly and utterly do it justice, but it's just a sense of like a deep breath. And it's just so wonderful.
People need to understand that as who they are, they have certain spiritual birthrights, and happiness and joy is included in that.
Yes.
And so if they don't feel happy, that means something is off. And if they can't figure it out themselves, please.
Yes.
And I'm not saying you need to come and see me, but find somebody who can help you so that you can be happy.
Right. And the thing is by listening to these shows and watching these videos, people are going to get your resonance, your signature. And those that connect to you know you're that person on the crossroads of life to help them. And that's the whole thing about it. It's like a big, huge directory. Come and sample who you are, and you got to pick that person you resonate with. And if you feel something by listening to this show and you feel a connection to the work that you're doing, then you know that this is the right person for you at this time, and then reach out. So in reaching out to you, we know what you can do for them. How do they reach out to you, and your process?
Well, it's very simple. You introduced me as Daniel the Healer. Of course, my last name is not the Healer, but this is who I've branded myself. So I have a website, danielthehealer.com. I have an email address, daniel@danielthehealer.com. It's all Daniel this, Daniel that, Daniel that. But
makes it easier, makes it much, much easier.
That is the easy way to reach me. That is the easy way to get involved with me. That is the easy way, if you are interested to know more, to figure out where you're not the happiest that you can be, where you don't experience the joy in life, or if you suffer, you're in pain, this is the way to get in touch with me and to begin a change for yourself.
Be willing to explore other options. That is the first thing. You don't need to understand how Daniel does it. All you need to do is trust that he gets the results, and he can with you if you step into willingness and are willing to receive. Right?
Yes.
Not dictate how it happens, receive how it happens. Allow the healing to happen. You don't have to understand, you just have to allow. And when you are in that healing mode, then the understanding will come to you. And all you need to understand is that you're realigned, your energy chakras, everything is there. You're now open to receiving that beautiful divine light. And with that, you'll have greater understanding of why you're here. So first and foremost, heal thyself. Allow Daniel to help you along the way. Thank you so much, Daniel. This has been great.
Yeah, that's been fantastic. Thank you very much, too. I appreciate being here. In closing, I would just like to say, we are at the threshold of the most grand, magnificent times. and you're here to experience those. And if you feel that you don't have an admissions ticket, that somewhere along the line you're not able to get into that space, then reach out for help, because you are divine and you're entitled to receive this.
100%. We're inviting you to the party, and boy, is it going to be a party. It's, the orchestra is practicing, that symphony is going to be out there, the energy is going to be utterly divine, and you can be a part of it. But the responsibility is for you to make the choice to step up and take ownership over your own self and allow people like Daniel to help you along the way. Because when you do, boy, are you going to know the difference.
So farewell, everybody. I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much. Until next time, folks, be kind to yourself. Bye for now. For more wonderful shows like this, please go to selfdiscoveryradio.com, podcasts, and see our lineup. And if you wish to support us, we have a funded button. Please stay tuned for our next show.